Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over the trades that we took on Friday, as well as the game plan going into this week and what we're going to be looking for. So, on Friday, the market was neutral, and we know this because of the 30-minute chart. Right here, 585 puts, the 10 is below the 50 on both sides of the premium, or on the put side in this case right here. I know this did end up crossing a little bit in a close, but obviously you guys know this is not a valid cross because the 50 is still sloped down. For a cross to be valid, the 50's got to be sloped up, and obviously into the close, this never, curled up at all. So market was neutral throughout the whole day. And then when we go to the call side, obviously that side of the premium is neutral as well. So you can see that on Friday that this chart initially went negative. So that meant the bulls lost the trend. This is where we knew that we would most likely get a move lower because this 10 is going below the 50 on the 30-minute, and usually when we get that negative cross from one side of the trend to neutral, we get a move in the opposite direction of the premium. And since these are the calls, we would expect to move lower on these contracts, which we would expect to move higher on the put side. I'd expect that move to continue until we hit that 30-minute 50 on Friday, which we did end up hitting and then blowing past it a little bit. But the Bears were never able to take the trend, so it was a neutral day on Friday, and it was a really good day. So this is how we played these charts. So with this chart going negative, like I said, off of the open 9:30, this chart was going negative, which just means the 10 is going below the 50. We're going from this wasn't really that much of a trend, but since the bulls couldn't continue this move higher and these went negative, that we're expecting a move lower, and we're just looking for an entry on this chart, or not off this chart, but we're just looking for an entry to the downside. And what we would look for is just a 0-day cross on the put side, and we did get that. So if we go to the puts real quick, you can see right off of open, where were we? Right here off of open. We never got the put cross. This is still, we never got a cross up in here. We did close above the 50, but that doesn't really mean anything until we actually cross. So pretty much just a waiting game until this happened right here. So right here at 12:20, you can see what happened. We broke above the 50, 10's going above the 50. This is a 0-day cross. This is like one of the most common setups with the system, one of the best setups with the system, and it's just a simple 10 SMA crossing the 50. The green is the 10, 50 is the blue. We're just playing this cross right here. So, keeping in mind that we are looking for a trade to the downside, we know that that 30-minute chart I just showed you guys is going negative on the call side, which means we're expecting a move lower, and what you just have to look for is that put cross to get the confirmation that we're going to go lower. So right here on this candle, 12:20, we got a closure above. I entered on this next candle. 12:25 was the open. I gave this out in the Discord. I said that I was short, and look at the move we got. This was like an instant 100+ point move on NQ. Very simple type of trade. We're just playing the 10 crossing the 50. We got explosive move out of it, and in the Discord there was some confusion on this trade just because of this 30-minute chart right here on the put side. So if you guys trade the system, you guys know when we're at the 30-minute 50, you don't want to be taking the 0-day cross when we're sitting right at the 50. There was a little bit of room to it, not much, but one of the reasons I did take this trade was because if you look at the 30-minute on the call side, we know that, okay, this chart's going negative, and that's likely going to push us lower. And since we're already somewhat near the 50 on the put side, it's more likely to break than reject, because we know that this chart is going negative, and that's most likely going to push us lower and break that 30-minute 50. And with how we've been really bullish lately, and there's really been no moves to the downside, I was just favoring more of a move lower than higher. So once the chart went negative and we got the put cross, I mean, that was like the ultimate confirmation to take this trade. Didn't see a reason not to. Also, it's this one's kind of hard to explain when it comes to the 50 SMA on the put side, because when it looks like this, all right, when it looks like this, it's sloped down super really hard, and the 10 and the 50 are pretty close. I'm not considering this too much of a resistance, just because when you looked at this, it's hard to see it on this chart right here, but it just sloped down super hard, and at one point it just looked super unnatural. And when the 50 SMA tends to look weird, I don't really consider it that much of a support or resistance, depending on what it looks like. It's hard to see in this picture, but if you saw it throughout the day, it was just literally sloped down, barely any curvature to it. It was just pretty much straight down. And when I was seeing the put cross line up, I'm I'm taking this. There's no reason not for me not to take this, because we knew the 30-minute was going negative. Bulls were losing the trend, so this is a perfect setup for me to take. So yeah, we took that trade, and it was a banger. There was really nothing else to take. Actually, yeah, there was another setup you could have taken today, or not today, on Friday. If you go to the what was it, the put side, Could have actually taken this negative cross right here. So it's a very simple type of trade. Again, this chart right here, we're just playing this initial cross because we know the market's neutral. We're neutral because there's no trend in the market, which means the 30-minute chart is not crossed on either side of the premium. So we're just looking to play that initial move, and after we get our move, we sell our position. This is plenty move to catch. I mean, there's no reason to not to be selling at all on this move lower here at 1230 because that was well over 100 points. And then from there, after we get this initial move, you take your profits and whatnot. The next thing to look for is either a dip to this 50 and then reclaiming the 10 to take an entry. What I mean by that is if this right here, okay, we came somewhat close to the 50. This is close enough for me to be like, okay, if it does bounce from here and we get a closure above the 10 SMA, we could go short again once we get a closure above this 10 SMA. We never got it, so there's no entry to take. And we don't buy this dip right here to the 50 because we are neutral. Again, that's something you got to understand. When we're neutral, you do not buy these dips to the 50. There are certain circumstances where you could. This is not one of them. That certain circumstance would be on that initial negative cross on the 30-minute, which we already got a significant move from that negative cross. So I wouldn't go buying this 30-minute, or not 30-minute, this 5-minute 50 dip. But just know when we're neutral, don't buy the 50 dip. When we're trending on the 30-minute, you could buy this 50 dip on the side of the trend. So yeah, we never got the closure above the 10, so there's no entry. If this candle did close above the 10 and the 10 SMA wasn't sloped down super hard, you could take an entry to go short again, but we never got that. So the next opportunity was this negative cross right here. So once we close below the 50, the 10's down hard. You probably could have entered here on the, what was that, 205 candle, or this candle right here would probably have been a safer bet. I'm not exactly sure what it looked like, but one of these two candles you would have went long on, and you can see the move we got. Very nice move at, let's see, if we flip to the call side real quick, you would have wanted to sell all this at the 50 SMA on the calls. So yeah, I mean, this wasn't the best trade in the world because there was not that much room to the 50 on the call side. When these charts are like pretty close together like that, after we get like a negative cross, like if we're somewhere close to this 50 SMA, I probably would just sit out of that. I didn't even notice that the call side was already near this 50 SMA like that. So honestly, probably not the best trade to take because when you look at the other side of the premium, you got to look at both sides all the time, because if we get that negative cross and we're somewhat near this 50 SMA, it's not really a good trade to take because we're at intraday resistance here on the call side, and then the other chart's going negative, so it's kind of like conflicting bias. So at that point, just wait for the cross to happen on the call side, which it did, and this actually gave a really solid move. This is getting pretty late in the day, but if we did get a cross, like 330 is like the ultimate cutoff for me, or even like 315. If we don't get something by then, I would definitely not be taking a cross after 330. Like there's no reason to be doing that. So we got this cross right here at like, what is that, like 310, and you can see the move we got. Very nice move. I'm not exactly sure when the 50 curled up, either on this 3 o'clock candle or the 305. But obviously I wouldn't be chasing this big green candle. If anything, wait for this little dip here on this candle to get in. But yeah, this cross gave a good move. You can see these contracts at like 0.90 to 0.80 all the way up to almost $2 a contract. So that cross gave a solid move if you took it. It was a pretty good day for the system. You have the 0-day cross on puts, you got this call cross. Negative cross did work, but that's not the best setup to take in the world because we were near this intraday resistance here on the call side. So there was still some room though to it, because on this candle close, the contracts are at 0.3. These are at 0.6, so there was a little bit of room, nothing too crazy. So that would have worked out if you did take it. You probably could have gotten like 30 to 40 points. I'm not really sure what the move exactly was, but it did give some points if you did want to take it. So yeah, I mean, the system went pretty much 3 for 3 on Friday with the put cross, negative cross, and the call cross. So really good day for the system. If you were right on the day with the system, you gotta like reevaluate what you're doing, see what you what did you do wrong when it came to the system, because it gave you 3 opportunities, all 3 worked, and maybe it was the entry you took. You took a trade just guessing what's going to happen. That's something a lot of people do with the system, is like, oh, this is definitely going to cross. I'm going to enter early, and then it never crosses, and you get screwed on the trade. So you got to learn not to just front run across all the time. There's certain times where I do enter early, and that's because I know, okay, this is 100% going to cross. I'm going to take a starter position, and then once we get a move in my favor, I'm going to average up and get a nice, get more size onto the trade. So that's kind of how I like playing those crosses. If you do want to get in early, only take a starter like position, because you're gonna screw yourself like in the long run if you just keep like entering in before it actually crosses, just because you think, oh, this is gonna cross. It's always good to go starter size, and then once we actually get a move and cross, then you add more to your position, and then you have a good fill because you took that initial position, and then average up when you're more confident in the cross. I tend to get in before the actual cross when I know for certain that we are going to cross. I know that might sound confusing, but it's pretty much the 10 and the 50 SMA have to be really, really close together, where I know on the next candle this is going to cross like 100%. So that's kind of how I judge like when I enter early, and depending on like what the higher time frames look like, the 30-minute chart, like what are we doing over there? Is the trend bullish? If it's bullish, okay, if we get this call cross, that we're gonna see a really good move, and that's when I tend to be like, okay, I'm gonna take a starter position because I really want to catch this move. I know 30 minutes align with the like higher time frame trend. This call cross is about to happen. Let me get in some and then average up when we get the actual cross. So yeah, that's pretty much what we did on Friday. Going into tomorrow, market's neutral, like I said in the beginning of the video. So 30-minute chart, this is what we look like. We actually closed at a pretty key spot here on the call side, because this 50 SMA, this is a major pivot in the market on the 30-minute chart. The 30-minute 50 marks a lot of tops and bottoms when we are neutral. So that's our make or break spot, because if that breaks, we're most likely going to go and cross, and the market's going to flip bullish in this case. If we do break above that 30-minute 50, still has a lot of work to do, because this 10 SMA is all the way down here at 239, 50 is all the way at 365. So for this to cross, that'll need a bit more time. But yeah, neutral going into tomorrow. If we flip to the put side, same thing. I mean, we're not crossed. We would go here. Pretty ugly looking 30-minute chart. So we're just going to see how we open up, but right now, market's neutral. What do we look for? Very simple. 0-day cross, either side of the premium. Negative cross, either side of the premium. 10 SMA reclaim, either side of the premium. So hopefully we could get some sort of trend. I mean, we're kind of like, when you look at these contracts, we are pretty close to both 50 SMAs. Like, these are at 320. 50's at 420. I mean, that's not much. That's like 30% on the premium. And then obviously on the call side, we're right at this 30-minute 50. So I feel like we're gonna get some trend next week. I don't know what way. I really don't care what way, because all we have to do is just wait, like sit and wait for one of these charts to cross, and then we can have some fun. So yeah, that's the plan for tomorrow. If you guys enjoyed, drop a sub. If you guys want to learn, join the Discord down below. All the trades are shared in there. All the knowledge on the system's in there if you want to learn. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm out. Peace.